Hi, I'm Debbie Korbel. I'm here at my Living the Dream exhibit at Riverside City College Quad Gallery. The title Living the Dream refers to both the surreal and the ironic portions of my work. On one hand, the title refers to the dreamlike qualities suggested by my sculptures. They often feel like tangible versions of something you might only see in your sleep. On the other hand, it's also a bit of a wink at the reality of being an artist and living a quote-unquote dream life. The truth is that any life is rarely simple. Being an artist is a lot of fun and can be very rewarding, but of course it can be complicated and certainly very unpredictable. I build my pieces from reclaimed materials like wood, metal scraps, glass, rubber, and bone, things that already come with their own stories and their own scars. I find these items in thrift stores and gifts from friends, junkyards, or even things I find in the street. Assemblage sculpture presents puzzles to the viewer. It invites you to decipher the original purpose of each object and then to release that knowledge, to see these fragments anew through a different lens, to see them with fresh eyes. Years ago, I read the haunting story Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and I was actually quite surprised it was much more poignant than Hollywood's film version. The idea of melding the visages of Frankenstein's monster and that of Christ was interesting to me because they were both forsaken by their creator, both figures were shaped by the will of another, and both were ultimately left to suffer alone. Deer are already lovely creatures. They are symbols of unspoiled beauty and grace and tranquility. With this piece, I wanted to build upon those ideas and create a deer that might be remembered from your dreams. One where the night sky is mirrored as a landscape swirling across the body of the deer, magnolia blossoms blooming from his antlers. I wanted to create a creature that embodies where nature, dreams, and imagination collide. As a kid, I was the proud owner of a turquoise blue rabbit's foot, convinced it brought me luck. It never occurred to me then how unlucky it was for the rabbit. People often ask me where I get my ideas, and I can tell you the catalyst for small talk appeared on a quiet walk on the beach when I noticed a burned-out campfire, and there was a charred shape that looked unmistakably like a horse's head. I could even see the eye. I've long enjoyed writing poetry of my own, and when I get the chance, I often incorporate my poetry into my work. Horses have always felt like poetry in motion to me, so finding that piece of wood felt like an invitation. My father was an electrician, and he often worked outside in dirty, inhospitable conditions and came home absolutely dog-tired. As a child, I learned to strip the plastic coating off the discarded wire scraps so the copper inside could be redeemed for cash. This sculpture, made from different colors and widths of electrical wire, carries that memory forward. Each twist and line is a quiet echo of his labor, a way of transforming something once purely functional into something personal and honored. I like slipping a little bit of humor into my work whenever I can. The call pulls together glass, metal, and found objects in a way that lets the elegance of the horse and the absurdity of the mixed media components live in the same body. And honestly, horses are very gassy animals, so the idea of putting a trumpet back there just struck me funny. Titling the piece "The Call" felt like the right way to underline the joke while keeping it rooted in the sculpture's form. My Happiness is a Warm Gun sculpture was inspired by the lyrics from a Beatles song. I always thought the lyrics were so funny, true, and succinct. I wanted to make a sensuous female nude, but not a boring one, so I came up with the idea of twins. I liked the idea of a single form housing two impulses, two longings leaning into the same spark. It is inherently and intentionally a bit confusing. I wanted to capture that feeling of lust and intimacy shared by two souls about to become conjoined by sexual desire. By repurposing these found objects, I'm using a visual language to shift their original meaning into something entirely new. And hopefully it's a language that resonates with the viewer, perhaps the same way that you feel after you read a good book and you feel a closeness with the author. You feel like you might understand things the same way that the author does. And it's exactly that mutual understanding, that spark of recognition that I'm looking for in my work.